Reagan Robertson here with Productive Dentist Academy. Get ready to join your favorite podcast hosts, Dr. Bruce B. Baird, Victoria Peterson, Dr. Chad Johnson, and myself, Reagan Robertson, at the nation's #1 dental business course that guarantees practice growth. That's right. Full immersion CE, so you can consistently produce more and align your team for results without compromising excellent patient care. Productive Dentist Academy has a special running this month that you can activate immediately. It's called the PDA Productivity Bundle. And we put this together so that you could attend this workshop, which is happening September 22nd to the 24th in Frisco, Texas at the Hyatt Regency, along with tools to make sure that not only are you getting great education on how to increase your productivity, how to communicate better with your team and your patients, increase your case acceptance, authentic market practice, and more, you also get a 2-hour business advisory session before the workshop to really get clear on what matters to you most so that you can be set up for success at the workshop. And following the workshop, you get 12 months access to PDA on demand. That is the entire productivity workshop on demand for you to make sure that you are doing everything you can in your power to soak up all of that CE and implement it come Monday morning, the next month, and the next month, and the next month for 12 months down the line. Registration is now open. The tuition cost is $2,195, which is ridiculous because it's regularly $5,528 for the productivity workshop attendance, 2-hour business advisory session, and 12 months access to PDA on demand. Hop on over right now to www.productivedentist.com/workshop to grab your registration today. Again, that is www.productivedentist.com/workshop. If you cannot wait and you have to have it right now, email Brent, B-R-E-N-T, at productivedentist.com. That's Brent, B-R-E-N-T, at productivedentist.com, and we will save you a seat. I look forward to seeing you there.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Bruce B. Baird, and you're listening to the Productive Dentist Podcast. In this podcast, I will give you everything that I've learned over the last 40 years in dentistry, working with thousands of dentists. I'll tell you, it's not that my way is the only way. It's just one that has worked extremely well for me, and I'd love to share that with you so you too can enjoy the choices and lifestyle that productivity allows. More time for things you love, increased pay, better team relationships, and lowered stress. Let's get into it with this week's episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. Hi, this is Dr. Bruce Baird with the Productive Dentist Podcast, and today we're going to talk a little bit about some questions that I've been getting and thought that I would share that information with all of the listeners. One question that we got was, when defining where I want to go with my team, I don't feel like I'm clear in my communication with the team. And that can be a real problem because, and I've been there, when you believe that you've told them what your vision is and what your dreams for your practice are, but you may know it crystal clear, but they may not understand it. I remember when I came back with some new training and thinking about how to schedule and how to do certain things in the practice, I just, and they laughed at me because I just figured that they knew it. And I did a little bit of explaining and just expected it to be commonplace for our scheduling. So, what I had to do once I realized that I wasn't doing a good job communicating with my team is to literally have that sit down training and doing role playing and doing, this is the vision. But for many dentists, this comes down to, how am I as a leader? How am I doing as a leader? And that's something that is, it's all a part of being a leader. Is how do you communicate with the team? How do you communicate with patients? How do you get patient enrollment? How do you get people that are uncommon? We've talked about so often in the Productive Dentist podcast series. But, and so it's super important for you, and that's one of the things we do at our foundations course, to give you a crystal clear vision of where you want to go. And a lot of times we don't have that crystal clear vision. We're not sure. I always knew that I wanted to have what I called a model practice. What was a model practice? Well, in my mind, a model practice was one thing, but what does that actually mean for your team? What's a model practice to them? It may mean something totally different. And that's really where getting the team enrolled in your thought process, getting your team enrolled in the dream you have for the practice, and to get them excited about that direction of your practice. And this can happen whether you're just starting your practice. I think it's easier when you're just starting out to get a clear vision of where you want to go, because a lot of times, if you've been a practice owner for years, many of us lost our way. We're just working, we're making good money, and there's just not a lot of there's just not a lot of leadership that we're trying to get somewhere. We're not trying to get to be a better practice. We're not trying to be a model practice or whatever it is. And our team has a tendency to kind of be all over the place. And so that's why I feel like it's so important for you to establish those leadership skills. But how do I define where I want to go with my team? You have to be crystal clear on where you want to go first. Then you can begin to talk to the team. And I think it's super important to be able to say, what do you think about that? And when I first started this, I had meetings first with a couple of my administrators, people who I trusted, a couple of mentors, to help me determine exactly where I wanted to go, what type of collections that I wanted to have. I looked at all the systems in my practice. I had been to plenty of continuing education, so I had ideas about each one, but they have to be concrete. It has to be, this is the way we're going to go. I know Jeff Boosky, my partner, and I, we would always plan for the next year, and we would always look at all the systems that we had. And that's what drove our training for the team and before Jeff and I were partners, I did that on my own. This is where we want to be. I'd like to have my collections at 98, 99%. And often we ran well over 100% because of pre-collecting things that we were doing. It might be, how do we follow up with insurance? How do we file our insurance? How do we look at accounts receivable? What is our recare procedures? How do we do that? And so going through, and there's not that many systems in a dental practice. You have inventory of supplies, you have those things, but you've got to be crystal clear on all of those things. And those are the things that we talk about a lot at Productive Dentist Academy. Why? Because the more clear you are about where you want to go, the easier it is to enroll your team and to get buy-in from them. And without buy-in from your team, you are literally fighting a battle that is, one step forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. There's no clear direction. It would be like going on a trip. You're not exactly sure where you're going, and so you just follow the sun. And did you go the fastest route there? Well, maybe not, And so those are the things that I'm constantly looking at. What does good leadership look like? Let's talk about this. Was another question. What are 3 things in your office that show you need to improve your leadership and strategies? Well, when you start seeing your accounts receivable going way up, when you start to see recare with people not showing up for their recare appointments, when you start to see metrics change, those are the things that can show you, we have a problem in this arena. That's why I've always loved having a practice that was metrically driven, meaning I look at a certain group of numbers. You also have to look and see. So one of the things is metrics, knowing your metrics. Number 2 is just having a good sense of what's the esprit de corps? What is the general attitude of my team? Are they all in? Are they always do they have positive feedback? Are they having fun? And that's something else as a leader. If your team's not having fun, if they're not enjoying things, if it's just the drudgery of a job, when they get a little sore throat, they don't show up. When they have something, one of their kids is sick, they don't look for that person to watch them. It's just they're not committed. They're not committed to your practice. And I'm not saying people should not take care of their kids or not take care of themselves. I don't want sick people at the office. But what's critical is, I've got a team where it didn't matter. They found ways to be in the office always. And so those are two of the things that I can write off the top of the head. What's the third thing that affects me as far as leadership? If I see total office complaints going up, in other words, a patient upset about this, or a patient upset about that, or a patient upset. As a leader, what I'm doing is I'm calling these training opportunities. If a patient had a problem before, I would think, well, they must just be a butthead. But the truth is, many people, when they do stand up and say something that's bothering them, in particular patients, there's probably 10 other patients that didn't say anything. And so being a leader is taking those, I hate using the word complaints, but their concerns about their procedure, their concerns about things. Those are all training opportunities for me first to find out, did we have part of our system that fell apart? Did we have part of our system that didn't work the way that we had envisioned it to work? And then I will drill down and find out, okay, let's find out. Now, it's true, there are some just butthead people. But most people really, if they're unhappy, they just go somewhere else. So I really take seriously somebody who has an issue. Whereas early in my years in practice, I didn't really, I just figured, well, they're just griping. And, we've got plenty of patients, so what if we lose one? But that's not a really good attitude to have. And truthfully, you're also going to be able to find where things are breaking down by taking suggestions well, by and enrolling the team, by getting them to see your vision and having a clear vision. You're well on your way to having a very successful, productive dental practice. And many of us, that we go through different times. For instance, when I look at times when, let's just say, the office productivity is not going up, it's not looking good, our new patient flow is not looking good. Well, I have to step back as a leader and say, all right, do I remember the patients I saw this week? I always take it personal first. I don't go and think it's someone else's problem. Usually what we've seen in dental practices is it's usually a lack of vision, a lack of clarity of that vision. And a doctor, I use the term with integrity, nothing else matters, and without integrity, nothing else matters. And I use that very seriously to myself, because I said, I'm expecting us to do one thing, but then I do something else. How does that look to the team? I say we're going to treat people a certain way, but yet when Ms. Johnson leaves and I can't stand her, I call her an old bitch. And, well, that's probably not the word, but, an old biddy. And so I'm actually showing behavior that I don't really want my team to have with our patients. We're all human, and we all want to do a great job. The truth is, what is a good job? And I see so many frustrated dentists telling employees, telling their team, well, I just don't have the right team. I'm not willing to commit. To coming to Productive Dentist Academy. I'd love to, but I just don't have the team to commit to something like that. Well, my question to you is, when are you going to have the team? If you don't have the team, then what are you doing? In most cases, I see that as lack of clarity of the vision, which we all need clarity of the vision. I mean, we all do. Or we're just going to end up wherever we are. And we can whine and cry and bitch and moan about it. Or we can take control of our own life, take control of where we want our practice to go, and enroll people that see our vision as clearly as we see our vision. Rewards come when there is clarity. And that's when productivity goes up. That's when complaints go down. It's when team enjoyment goes up. It's where doctor enjoyment goes up. And it's when you start to hear laughter in the dental practice. You start to hear patients saying this is like family. And if you don't have that in your practice, it's probably costing you over the rest of your career, probably $500,000 a year not to have clarity. Now, that doesn't sound like much. Well, it does to me. It does sound like a lot. But imagine 10 years of lack of clarity. Imagine 15 or 20 years. Imagine what the cost, the financial cost is to you for not being crystal clear on your vision. And that's what we do at our Foundations course. You can go on the Productive Dentist Academy website and find out about it. I think we're launching our next one April 23rd, so it's in a few weeks. But I really challenge you to, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, let's talk about building that investment grade practice with the amazing team, with the amazing people that are there. So hopefully this has been a good podcast for you. I really look forward to next week's podcast. I'm going to do some more Q&A, and we're going to come up with some additional ideas. So I look forward to it. Have safe time, and love you guys. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, make sure you subscribe. Pass it along to a friend. Give us a like on iTunes and Spotify, or drop me an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. Don't forget to check out other podcasts from the Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentistpodcast.com. Join me again next week for another episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.